Good morning. Thank you for joining. Let's start our session. So we were now discussing about VPC. As you, most of you are aware of, like we were now discussing about VPC. We understood the basic concept of VPC. So let me recap. Let us recap for a few minutes, like what we were discussing from the previous sessions. So we were discussing like how to create VPC and how to create subnets. Usually for creating a VPC, we need to provide the IP address range. So we have seen like how to get the range, how to take the IP address range of the VPC, all those things we have decided. Let me go here and 1 second. What can I do is I will go to this particular. Okay, and see here. So we have already created a VPC, right? We have already created a VPC. You can see the list of VPCs here, my VPC. Okay. So let me delete this VPC and let me create one more time. And so that you will be aware of like, how can we create the VPC, all these things. See, whenever I'm trying to delete the VPC, you see all the internet, all the other components, all the components that we have created yesterday, like we have created subnets inside the VPC. We have created the route table, internet gateway, route table, all these things inside the VPC. So I'm deleting all these things. So everything will be deleted. If you deleted a VPC, all the subcomponents inside the VPC will be deleted. I have deleted the VPC. Okay, for now, I'm going to start. I'm going to start freshly, like how we are going to create a VPC. Okay. So usually we create VPC. VPC is nothing but our private cloud. I'm going to set up or I'm going to establish a private cloud for our project. Okay. Suppose if you want to set up your private cloud inside the AWS, so you need to go for here. You need to go here and select create VPC. So I'm selecting only VPC. I'm going to create VPC only for now. And I would like to provide the name of the VPC as my VPC. Hope all of you have practiced all these things. Okay, please, if not, at least please do it today, because without practice, you cannot get all these things. Okay, so maybe while listening and all, right? So it seems like everything seems easy, but most of the times, if you go to the practicals, then you will understand the things. Okay, so I'm going here. I'm just giving the name of the VPC. Okay, selecting the here. I need to provide the range. Okay, I need to provide the IP address range. As you know, we have already discussed about how actually we provide the IP address range. One second. So we had a detailed discussion. We had a detailed discussion in the previous classes that how can actually we create, how can we actually provide the VPC range? How can we provide the range for the VPC? Okay. So suppose, for example, like suppose if I would like to create, if I would like to create 50 servers, okay. If I want to create some 50 servers, or otherwise, if I want to create some 100 servers, okay. See here, if I want to create some 100 servers, okay. Can anyone tell me, like, if I want to create some 100 servers, what is the IP address range that I can provide? So it's not like you have to start with 10. We can also start with something like I'm going to start like this 20.000 slash. What is the IP address range? What is the range that I have to provide here? If I provide 32, how many IP addresses I will get? Only one IP address. If I provide 31, I'll get two IP addresses. If I provide 34 IP addresses, I will get. If I want to have 100 servers, how many IP addresses I should get? We need to go for this particular range here. So for that, what I'm doing is I'm just calculating, like if I give 27, if I give 27 as a range here, so how we need to take is 32 minus 27 is what? 32 minus 27 is 5. And usually how to calculate that? 2 to the power of, we need to take like this, like 2 to the power of 5. 2 to the power of 5 is 32. If I take 27, if I take 27, I'll get 32 IP, only 32 IP addresses. So that's why you need to decrease the size. If I take 26, can anyone tell me 32 minus 26, 6? 32 minus 26 is 6. If I take 6, okay, 32 minus 26 is equal to 6. So 2 to the power of 6. How many hypotheses I'll get? How many hypotheses will get 64, right? I'll get 64. Suppose if I take 25, if I get 25, 32 minus 25 is what?
7.
7. 2 to the power of 7 is what?
128.
128. So I'll be getting 128 IP addresses. So for my requirement, if my requirement is 100 servers, so it will best suit my requirement. Okay, it will best suit my requirement because we should not take exact number. Always remember, okay, if your requirement is like you are going to create some 100 servers in all the subnets, okay, make sure that you are taking some additional IPs. As I told you, we are also going to create subnets inside the VPCs. And when you create a subnet, once you create a subnet, usually what happens? The first 4 and the last IP address, totally 5 IP addresses cannot be used. We cannot use 5 IP addresses in a subnet. At each subnet level, we cannot use 5 IP addresses. If anyone missed all these things, like you can go to the previous recording and you can watch all these things, okay? This is how actually we will take the VPC range. So let me give you this particular range. I'm going to give this particular range 20.000/25. This is the range I would like to provide. I'm going here. So what I will be doing is, okay, I'm going to provide the name of the VPC as my VPC, and the range I would like to provide is this one. I'm just copying this one and I'm providing this as a range. Okay. That's it. This is the only thing that I'm doing for now, and I'm going to create a VPC. I provided the name of the VPC and I did provided the range. This is the range I have provided, 25, 110, 128 IP addresses I will get for my VPC. So as I told you already, under VPC, once after creating a VPC, we cannot directly create servers inside the VPC. If this is your VPC, you cannot directly launch your servers inside the VPC. Make sure that you cannot directly launch your servers. You cannot directly launch your servers directly inside the VPC. What you have to do is what? Tell me what you are going to do inside the VPC. What we have to create? We are going to create subnets. We are going to create subnets. So subnet is nothing, but it is also subnet is a partition inside the VPC. First, we need to create a subnet. Usually we create subnets. Inside the subnets, we will provision the servers. Sorry, it seems like. Can you hear me now? Network is lost, I think. Hope you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So try to understand that we are going to create subnets inside the VPC, and inside the subnets, we will be provisioning our servers. This is how usually we provide the servers, provision the servers inside the subnets. Okay. So what are the two different types of subnets actually we are trying to understand usually? So we can create any number of subnets. That doesn't matter. It's not a matter actually. We can create any number of subnets, but usually we create, okay, we create all web servers. Okay. If it is a web server, usually we create web servers, all kind of web servers in one subnet. Why? Because we need to provide public access. Usually web servers will be accessible from the outside world. Anyone in the world can able to access, you should be able to access the web server. That's the reason why we always provision the web servers in the public subnet. Otherwise, you can also take it as, you can also name the subnet as web subnet. It's up to you. How to name the subnet, naming conventions of the subnets, all these things, it is up to you. So it is not mandatory that we have to provide the name of public subnet or private subnet. Okay. It's up to you. Okay. So you make sure that we are going to provision web servers in this. That's the reason we are in this particular subnet. We are going to provision web servers in this particular subnet. That's the reason why we'll be calling it as web subnet. And you see, there is one more subnet. We are going to create one more subnet to provision the database servers. So I'm going to name this subnet name as DB subnet. So here, whatever the servers that we will be provisioning, all these are the DB servers. And usually no need of providing access to the outside world, but the DB servers will not be directly accessible by the public. DB servers will not be publicly accessible. We cannot provide public access to the DB servers. We won't provide usually because of security reasons. We won't provide. Usually, what happens? Suppose if you are accessing something, okay, if you are accessing something from the internet, like try to understand, like you want to download your bank statement or something is happening, okay? If you are connecting to any of the banking website, HDFC, SBI, if you are connecting to any of the banking website, and if you want to download your statement, usually what happens, we will go to www.hdfcbank or www.sbi net banking. From the net banking, from the browser, the request will goes to, from our laptop, from our personal laptop, the request will goes to the web server of the SBI. So whatever the web server we provision here in the web subnet, the request will goes to the web server, which is present in the web subnet, okay? From this server, if it wants to fetch the data, the request will goes like this. I'm just telling you, like I'm just explaining how actually the request passes from our personal machine, from the browser. The request will goes to the web server, and to fetch the data, the request will be moving from web server to the database server. So in the DB subnet, we are provisioning DB servers. In the web subnet, we are provisioning web servers. So we are going to provide public access to the public. We are providing public access to the web servers. Why? Because public needs to access. But we are not providing public access to the database servers. Usually database servers cannot be accessible by the public. Usually we won't provide. The requirement is like public will connect to the web server. From the web server, usually the request will goes to the DB server. This is how actually the flow will be. So we always keep our DB servers privately. We always keep our DB servers privately, and we will be providing access only to the private servers. Okay, I'll show you, like we will take an example and we will understand how actually these things will happen. But before we move on, so we have created one VPC here. We have created one VPC, and you can see here, this is the range. We created one VPC, and this is the range that we have provided for the VPC. What is the next step? Tell me what is the next step, what we are going to do. We are going to create what? Subnets. Can you see here? Earlier, we have created some subnets like subnet 1 and subnet 2. Let me delete all these things. I think all these things got deleted, but whenever I deleted the VPC, yes, all the things are deleted. Can you see here, once a VPC is created, you are going to create a subnet. I'm just going for creating a subnet. I'll be creating a subnet. So while creating the subnet, it is asking you to choose under which VPC you would like to create subnet. Yes, I'm selecting my VPC. I'm selecting my VPC, and this is the range we provided for my VPC. This is the IP address range that we provided for my VPC. Now I want to make two partitions. Okay, I'm going to create two subnets. Within this range only, I would like to create two subnets. So first subnet, I'm going to create the first subnet as I'm going to create the subnet as web subnet. I'm going to create the first subnet as web subnet. How to provide the range? Can anyone tell me if this is the range provided for the VPC? How can we provide the range for the subnet? We have 128 IP addresses. We have 128 IP addresses. You can partition. If you want only 32 IPs for the first subnet, you can take the first 32 IP addresses. If you want to take last 32 IP addresses, yes, you can take. It is up to you how you are going to partition. What I'm doing here now, for understanding purpose, what I'm doing is like I'm going to segregate 64 IPs for the first subnet called web subnet. And I'm going to segregate another 64 IPs for the, I'm going to take another 64 IPs for DB subnet. For now, I'm going to create two subnets. One is web subnet and DB subnet. I'm going to allocate the first 64 IP addresses for the web subnet, and I'm going to allocate the second 64 IP addresses for the DB subnet. Hope you got it. Okay. Now tell me, what is the range that we can provide for web subnet? Usually this is the range I have provided for VPC. If I want to provide the range for this web subnet, how to provide the range?
64, right? 26.
64 IP. So what is the number that we need to provide? What is the number that I should give here? It is 25. So if it is 25, actually it is 128. So if it is 26, If it is 26, you see how many IP addresses I will get?
64.
64. But
32
what is
minus
starting IP
26.
address? The starting IP address will be this one.
0.
So from here onwards, it starts from this one, 20.0.0, 20.0.0.0. And what is the ending IP address? If I give 26 here, what is the ending IP address that we will be getting? The
0.
ending IP address, you need to understand what is the ending IP address. The ending IP will be, okay,
64.
for this, if I provide this IP, if I provide this particular range, then the ending IP will be 20.0.0.63. Why? Because
Yeah.
total 64 IP addresses we are assigning. It starts from 0 and ends with this number. It ends with this IP address. And what about second subnet? Okay, if I want to create some DB subnet, second subnet, what is the range that I will provide the same range. Make sure that you change this number. It is starting from 0.
Yeah.
Public subnet is starting from 0. And the database subnet, DB subnet should not start with same 0. It is ending with 63, right? The web subnet is starting from 0 and ending with 63. So the second subnet must start with that number. We might give like it starts with 64. Why? Because the first subnet is ending with 63. The second subnet will start from 64. Only because we have only 128 IP addresses. 0 to 63 IP addresses are already reserved for web subnet, and the remaining IP addresses we will be assigning for DB subnet. So from 64, can you guess what will be the ending IP? Ending IP for the ending IP for the DB subnet. Okay, ending IP for the DB subnet will be what? We can take 20.0.0. We can guess what is the ending IP address. Totally, we have 128. The last IP address will be obviously, the last IP address will be 127. Okay, you got it right. The last IP address will be obviously 127. Starting from 64 to 127. These are the things that I am providing for 64 IP address. I am assigning for the web subnet. Try to understand. Any questions you have, you must be very clear with this concept, because if you are not clear, we cannot proceed with the further sessions. All the further sessions are depending on these things only. The upcoming 2 to 3 sessions will be depending on all these things only. Please make sure that you have an understanding of all these things. Okay. So this is how this is how I'm going to create a web subnet, and I'm going to create a DB subnet. Let's go ahead and create web subnet. I'm giving the name of the subnet as web subnet. I would like to create all these in one availability zone. Okay. In any of the availability zone, like I'm just choosing for now AP South 1A. You can choose any of the availability zone. I have chosen AP South 1A, and it is asking for the CIDR range. When I'm using the terminology called CIDR range, it is nothing but IP address range. What is the IP address range that you would like to provide? This is the CIDR range of what? Can you see here? This is the CIDR range of what? VPC. You don't need to disturb this one. No need to disturb this one. It is not modified actually. Okay, this is the IP address range of the VPC. This is the IP address range of the VPC. You need to provide the range for subnet now. So what I'm doing is like I'm going to provide the subnet range like this 0.0/26. I'll be providing this is the range for subnet, web subnet. How many IP addresses will be reserved? Can you see here how many IP addresses will be reserved? 64 IPs will be reserved. I'm going to create a subnet. I did created a subnet which is called web subnet. Why I named the subnet as web subnet? Because I'm going to provision web servers. I'm going to provision web servers. That's why I named the subnet as web subnet. You can name like anyhow. Okay, it's up to you how you are going to name the subnets and all. I'm going to create one more subnet. So while creating the subnet, it is asking under which VPC you would like to create. Select my VPC. Select my VPC. Come down. You need to provide the name of the subnet. What is the other subnet that we would like to create? I'm going to create the name of the subnet as, I'll be providing the name of the subnet as DB subnet. I think we are getting some comments. Shailu, I kept you on mute. So DB subnet, I'm giving the name of the subnet as DB subnet. Availability zone, I'm selecting AP South 1A. Availability zone, the same availability zone I'm selecting. This is the range of IP address. Okay. This is the range of IP address. This is the range of VPC. This is the range of VPC. So for subnet, we need to provide like this 20.0.0. Here, the ending IP address of the first subnet is 63. so that the second subnet will start from 64 slash 26 is the range I am providing. If I am providing 26, it is immediately showing how many IP addresses will be reserved. So based on this number, the IP address will be reserved. So you see, when I'm giving 25, how many IP address it is showing? 128. But you cannot create this subnet because you see, when I'm trying to create this subnet, what it is showing, like the IP address overlaps with the existing subnet. You cannot create it. You have 128 IP addresses, but you have already created one subnet with 64 IPs. How many remaining IPs you have? We have already created one subnet with 64 IPs, and we are remained with only 64. And again, I'm trying to create with 128 IPs. That is not possible. Okay, you have to create within the 64. You have a balance of 64 IPs, and you need to create within the 64 IP address. So it is possible. I can give 28. It is possible. I can give 28. If I'm giving 28, how many IP addresses are reserving for this subnet? Only 16. I can give 27 also. 32 IP addresses are getting assigned. So if you want to create multiple subnet, you can choose the partitions. You can make partitions. For the first subnet, you can give 64. Second subnet, you can give 32. Third subnet, you can give 32. Like that, you can do the partitions. Okay. For now, I'm doing only 2 partitions. Okay. With the help of, say within the range only, I'm giving 2 partitions. 64 IP addresses were reserved by the first subnet, and 64 IP addresses I'm reserving for the second subnet. I'm going ahead and creating you see here, I have an orange color button here. I'm just clicking on it to create a subnet. So I've created 2 subnets here. You can refresh and see how many subnets were created so far. I've created 2 subnets. Leave about the remaining subnets. These 2 are the default subnets. Whatever the names that we were able to see, web subnet and DB subnet, those are our subnets. Leave about the remaining things. We did not create these things. Okay, those are the default ones. So far, what we have done is we have created a VPC. We have created 2 subnets inside the VPC. Okay. So now what is the architecture? You see, if you remember the diagram, okay, that is very much important. Okay, let me show you the diagram. We are creating VPC, and inside the VPC we have created 2 subnets. One is web subnet, the other one is database subnet. We are creating 2 subnets. We are done with this. Okay, we are done with this. This is web subnet, and the other one is DB subnet I've created. And you need to understand this one is VPC. Okay. The one I am talking about, this is called VPC, virtual private cloud, or private cloud. This is. Now my aim is like, I want to provide, if I create any server here, okay. If I create any server here, usually what happens is if I create any of the server, this server, okay, this server must be accessible by the public. So you need to understand one thing. By default, what is the default nature of the subnet? Whenever you create a subnet, what is the default nature of the subnet? The default nature of the subnet is what? Told you many times. The default nature of the subnet is private. Remember, when you create a subnet, okay, once a subnet is created, what is the default nature of the subnet? Subnet is private. Subnet will be private. So what you have to do, if you want to provide public access, okay, so by default the subnet will be private. By default, once the subnet is created, by default the nature of the subnet is private. So how can we make the subnet as public? How to make the subnet as public? This is very, very important. How to make the subnet as the public subnet. So now we are going to make the subnet as public subnet. So what are the options that we need to do? If you remember, what are the 2 things that we need to do? The very first one, we need to enable auto assign a public IP. Let me show you the options so that you'll understand. The very first option, we are going to make the web subnet as public subnet. By default, the web subnet is private. DB subnet is also private. But I want to make this web subnet as public subnet. Okay, by default, these 2 are private subnets. How can we understand that these two are private subnets? How can we say that these 2 subnets are private subnets? Okay, let me show you. I'm going to create one server inside this web subnet. I will be creating I will be creating one server inside this web subnet. Okay. So let me go to the EC2 machine. We are in the Mumbai region. Okay. I'm just I'm just duplicating this and I'm going to use another service called EC2. I'll be creating one server I'll be creating one machine inside our public subnet now. Sorry, I'll be creating one server in the web subnet. For now, both the subnets are private. When you create a subnet, the subnet will be by default private in nature. I'm just going for the instances. I don't have any instances running now. Assume, okay, let's try to understand how we are going to create a server. This is a web server I'm creating, okay? I'm going to create a web server inside the web subnet. How to create a server in my web subnet? I'm choosing Amazon Linux, AMI, instance type is t2.micro, key pair, I'm selecting existing key pair only. Okay, and I'm going here, network. This is the very important thing that we need to understand. Now you see here, every time from the beginning onwards, okay, from day one onwards, every time whenever we create an instance, whenever we launch an instance, the instance is being launched in the default subnet. The instance is being launched in the default subnet. Now the things are changed. We are learning VPC. We need to understand how to create our server in our own VPC, in our own private cloud. Edit the network settings. You select here. What is the name of the VPC we created? See, please make it as an interactive session so that it will be very helpful for you also. Okay. So what I'm doing is here, I'm editing the network settings. I'm able to see two things here. One is default VPC and other one is my VPC. I want to create this server inside my VPC, so I'm selecting my VPC. By default, it is default. By default, it is default VPC. Default VPC selected. Now I'm selecting my VPC. Why? Because I would like to create this server inside my VPC. In my VPC, in my private cloud, I would like to create this. It's asking, in which subnet you want to create? In my VPC, how many subnets we have? In my VPC, how many subnets you have?
Two
Web
subnet.
and DB subnet. So I want to create this server for now in the web subnet. Later we see about DB subnet. I am now for now I am creating this server in web subnet. So you see here, whenever you are creating a server by default, you can see here auto assign public IP will be disabled. You see here auto assign public IP will be disabled. This is very much important. So I'm creating a server. Okay, I'm creating a server. By default, you can see here, auto assign public IP will be disabled. Usually, if you want the public IP of this, if you want the public IP to this one, you can enable the public IP. If you don't want the public IP, you can disable the public IP. So, but let me show you, I'm just creating a server. Okay, I'm just creating a server. For now, I'm disabling the public IP. I'm coming down. So you see here, for now, SSH port is open. For now, the SSH port is open and I'm going to create this server. I'm creating this server to show you that while creating the server, we need to select our own VPC and in the subnet that we wanted to create our server. So far, we have not gone for the network settings. Today, I'm showing you how to select the VPC and how to select the subnet, how to select our own VPC and how to select our own subnets, how to create our servers inside our own private cloud. Now, you are very clear now how to choose the network settings, how to choose the VPC while creating the server and all. Because we have understood like VPC, we created our own VPC and we created our own subnets. Web server is created. Just open the web server details. And you see here the IP address that is assigned. Can you see here the IP address, the private IP? I told you many times. Okay, I told you many times. Whenever you launch any server, usually we get public IP as well as the most important things are public IP as well as private IP. Private IP, the two important things are private IP and public IP. Can you see what is the IP address? What is the private IP address that is assigned to this server? What is the private IP address that is assigned to this server? 20.0059. Is it from the web subnet or is it from what is the range of the web subnet? Can you see here? Go to the web subnet. What is the range of web subnet that we provided? 20.00/26. How many IP addresses are available? After creating the subnet with this particular range, it is clearly showing that how many IP addresses are available in this subnet.
59.
Actually we have assigned 64 IP addresses.
Yeah.
We have assigned 64 IP addresses, and it is clearly showing that we have only 59 IP addresses. What about the remaining 5?
Reserved IP addresses.
Yeah, we have already
First
discussed
4
it
and last
yesterday.
one.
Okay, five are reserved IP addresses. Okay, so whenever you create a subnet at the subnet level, 5 IP addresses are reserved, and you cannot use those 5 IP addresses. We cannot use those 5 IP addresses. Those are reserved by the AWS. That's the reason why it is showing that only 59 IP addresses are reserved. 59 IP addresses are available. We can use only these 59 IP addresses. Whenever you create a server in this subnet, the IP address, the private IP address will be assigned only in this 59. Only in this 59. Do you know 59 means? What are the 59 IP addresses? Can you guess what are the 59? It starts from what? 29.0.0. Told you many times. Okay. It starts with 29.0.0. What is the second IP address? 1. The third IP address. 2. Fourth IP address. 3. And so on. What is the last IP address? What will be the last?
58.
60?
58. Sorry, 63.
63. 63.
Okay, 64, right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So but see, totally we have 64 IP addresses. Total 64 should be there, but available IP addresses it is showing like only we have only
59.
59. Available is 59. And 5 are out of 64, 5 are reserved.
Yes.
Out of 64, 5 are reserved. 5 are reserved every subnet level. Okay. At every subnet level, 5 are reserved. We cannot use those 5. What are those 5? What are those 5? The first four and
Last one.
last one. You see here, whenever you create a server, this IP will not, this IP address from the first 4 and the last IP address will not be assigned to any server. Why? Because those are reserved already. You cannot see a server with this IP address. You cannot see a server with this IP address. Even if you continue, if you keep on launching the servers will be assigned with the IP addresses only within this range from 4 to 62. What are the remaining IP addresses? The first 4 are reserved. The last one is reserved. And the next one starts with the remaining all the IP addresses are there, right? We have remaining all 4, 5, 6, and so on. 62. Only those things we can see. So for this server, just now we created one server. We launched one server. What is the IP address that we can see for this server? You can see here, this is the IP address that I can able to see. This is the private IP address that I can see here. 20.0059. Randomly, from the available addresses, randomly it will pick one IP address and it will assign to it. You cannot say that the IP addresses will be assigned in series. Randomly, whatever the available IP addresses we have, from the available IP addresses, it will pick one random IP address and it will be assigning to the server you are creating. Got it? So now tell me, answer for one question now. Are we able to see the public IP here? Are we able to see the public IP? Can we see the public IP here? No. We are
No.
not seeing any public IP. What is the reason? Why we are not able to see this public IP? We are not assigning public IP. Usually, public IP will not be assigned in our local environments for security reasons. For security reasons, we won't enable public IP. In the live projects, in our live, usually in the projects that we go for day to day, we won't enable public IP because of the security reasons. If I enable public IP, if the public knows, if anyone knows that public IP, they can able to hack our servers. Because of those security reasons, we are not enabling public IP. Got it? But for web servers, definitely we should enable the public IP. But for web servers, why? Because those servers must be able to accessible by the public. Those servers must be able to accessible by the public, and we will take some security. Okay, we will apply some security, all those things for those things, but we will enable public IP for the web servers. I'm going to explain you that we are going to create some two subnets here. One is public subnet as well as private subnet. Otherwise, you can take it as web subnet or DB subnet. Web subnet, in the web subnet, we are going to launch web servers. Assume, just take an example, okay? In the web subnet, we are launching web servers. In the DB subnet, we are going to launch DB servers. For DB servers, we are not providing any, we won't, okay? You can see here. This is an example. Web subnet, inside the web subnet, we are going to launch web servers. So these web servers can be accessible by the public. DB servers cannot be accessible by the public. So that's the reason why all the DB servers must be kept inside the DB subnet as a private. All the web servers must be kept in the web subnet as a public servers. Okay. So now, usually if it is a, what happens is like, suppose let me delete this server for now. I'm not going to keep it. I let me delete. Okay. Let me terminate this one. I am terminating this one. Okay. I don't have any instances for now, but I have two subnets. One is public subnet. Other one is private subnet. You can see public subnet and private subnet. I told you by default, the nature of the subnet is public. By default, the nature of the subnet is private. We need to make this subnet as private. Two steps. The two steps you need to follow. I told you already. We need to follow two steps to make the subnet as default. Okay. We need to make, you can see here, every subnet will be by default what? Private. And we want to make any subnet as public. It is a two-step process. It is a two-step process. We need to enable the public IP. First, we need to enable the public IP at the subnet level. How to enable the public IP? You see here, I'm going here, select the subnet, web subnet. Okay, I want to make the web subnet as public. I'm selecting the web subnet. Go to the actions. Go to the actions. Here we have edit subnet settings. Please edit subnet settings. Enable auto assign. Enable auto assign. What we are doing? See, whenever we launch the servers, we are enabling the auto assign public IP. Public IP will be automatically assigned to that server. You don't need to choose whether you want to assign public IP or not. You don't need to choose. We are enabling at the subnet level itself. We are enabling auto assign public IP at the subnet level. I'm going to save this option. Okay, now if we go ahead and create one server, okay, if we go ahead and create one server in the web subnet, public IP will be automatically assigned. Public IP will be assigned to that server. So this is the first step, okay? This is the first step that we need to do we need to enable the public IP. The next thing is like, suppose we need an internet connectivity. This is what the important thing, okay? Try to understand here. This is the important thing. So I want to provide the internet connectivity to the web subnet. Usually, how actually the people from outside, public from outside can able to access these servers without internet connectivity? They cannot. Say now you and me, okay, you people and me got connected now here just because of having internet connection. Without the internet, how we can connect through the Zoom and how can we discuss these things? No. So if two systems needs to communicate each other, if two computers needs to communicate each other, definitely they should have internet connection. So we need to provide internet connection to these servers. We need to provide internet connection to these web servers. Without internet connection, public, anyone from the outside world cannot able to access these servers, cannot able to communicate with these servers. That's the reason why what we need to do is we need to attach an internet gateway. Try to understand. We need to attach an internet gateway to the VPC. No confusions. What I'm saying is you need to attach internet gateway at the VPC level. Without internet gateway, the purpose of internet gateway is to provide internet connections to the subnets. The purpose of internet gateway is to provide internet connections to the subnets. But you need to attach the internet gateway to the VPC. Where I am attaching the internet gateway, you can see here, I am attaching the internet gateway to the VPC. Try to understand what I am doing is now is I'm going to select internet gateway. Here we have some components. Here we have some components like internet gateways and route tables. Please go to the internet gateway, create one internet gateway. When I'm selecting internet gateways, I have some default internet gateways here. Don't worry about those things. Those are the default ones. Please go ahead and create an internet gateway. I'm going to create an internet gateway called my internet gateway. This is my internet gateway. I'm creating an internet gateway called my internet gateway. Coming down, I'm just creating an internet gateway. I'm creating an internet gateway. You can just click on internet gateways again. You can see internet gateway is created and you can see the status here. By default, internet gateway status is detached. The status of the internet gateway is detached. So how can we attach this internet gateway? Well, to which component we are attaching this internet gateway? We are attaching this internet gateway to the VPC. How to attach? Select the internet gateway.
Actions.
Any
Actions
question?
and attached to VPC.
Yes. Go to the actions. You can attach to the VPC. And you need to select the VPC to which VPC you want to attach it. Okay, select my VPC. Just attach it. That's it. Try to understand that we are attaching an internet gateway. We are attaching the internet gateway to the VPC. Okay. So the purpose of internet gateway is to provide internet connection to the subnets that we have inside the VPC. Without internet gateway, we cannot provide internet connection. That's why we created internet gateway and we attached it to the VPC. Now we need to attach this internet gateway to the subnets. We cannot directly attach this to the subnets. We cannot directly attach this internet gateway to the subnets. Try to understand. Internet gateway is attached to the VPC. And now our aim is to attach this internet gateway to the subnets. This we cannot do directly. So that's the reason we need another component. We need another component called route table. We are going to choose another component called, we are going to create another component called route table. And what we are doing is we will be connecting this through this route table. We are connecting to the, we are attaching this internet gateway. You see here, one end of the route table is connected to this internet gateway. The another end of the route table is connected to the subnet. This is what I'm doing. Try to understand. Okay. This is internet gateway. Internet gateway is attached to the VPC, not to subnet. Now my aim is to attach this internet gateway to the subnets also. Directly attaching the internet gateway to the subnet is not at all possible. That's the reason why we are going to create one more component. What is another component that we are creating, Shailu? What is another component that we are creating? RT, route table. What is the purpose of this route table? Since we cannot directly attach the internet gateway to the subnet, we are creating a new component called route table. One end of the route table is connected to internet gateway. The another end of the route table is connected to what? Subnet. One end of the route table is connected to gateway. Another end of the route table is connected to subnet. Okay. Let's go ahead and see how we are going to do it. Click on route tables. By default, we have some route tables. Ignore them. Don't worry about them. Okay. I'm creating a new route table. I'm providing the name of the route table as my route table. Okay. I'm providing the name of the route table as my route table. I'm selecting the VPC. I'm attaching this to my VPC. Okay. You see one end of the route table is, I'm selecting my route table. I'm going to create this route table for this VPC. I'm going to create. That's it. I have created a route table. You can see here. I'm creating a route table. The purpose of the route table you need to understand. I'm creating a route table. One end of the route table must be connected. One end of the route table must be connected to the subnet. Another end of the route table must be connected to the internet gateway. Route table is created. Select the route table. Go to actions. Edit subnet associations. Edit subnet associations. To which subnet I would like to connect it now?
Public one.
Web subnet. Okay, I want to connect this route table to one subnet for now. That is web subnet. I'm saving the association. So route table is connected. Okay, route table is connected now. Route table is connected to the subnet, web subnet. And another end, what about another end? We need to connect this to internet gateway also, right? We need to connect this to internet gateway also. How to connect this to internet gateway? Select the route table again. Go to actions, edit routes. Go to edit routes. Okay. Here, usually you will see this one. Okay. Your destination, all these things. You can add one more route. Usually you can add one more route. See, you can, one second. Here, we need to attach. We need to attach the internet gateway. Okay. I'm going to another route. I'm selecting like internet gateway. So here the destination I'm choosing as 0.00. You can see here. So leave about whatever the route one. Okay. Leave about the route one that we have here. Don't worry about the route one. So you can create one more route and you need to select the target as what? What is the target? I'm connecting this route table. I told you already, you need to connect this route table to the internet gateway. That's the reason why I'm connecting this route table to the internet gateway. If you see here, if you select the internet gateway, it will show the internet gateway that you created. Select that internet gateway. You need to select that internet gateway. Got it? So select the target as internet gateway. And here in the search option, you will find the internet gateway that you created. Select that internet gateway. And here as the destination, you need to keep all zeros, 000/0. You know what is the meaning of this one? If I'm providing all zeros, if you want to provide public access from any of the IP, if you want to provide access to any of the IP address, you need to keep 000/0, meaning you are allowing everyone. If I'm keeping this particular range, it doesn't mean that we are allowing everyone to access. We are allowing everyone in the world to access to this web servers, web subnet. Whatever the servers we will be creating inside the web subnet, everyone in the world can able to access. This is how actually we provide public access to the web servers. Everyone in the world can able to access it now. Okay. So I'm attaching the internet gateway. I'm saving the changes. I'm saving the changes. That's it. Now our default, now the subnet is made as public. You understood now? Now our subnet is public. So now we can go ahead and create. Okay. I'm going ahead and create. How to test this? How to test it? So I told you that we made our subnet as public. How to test it? How to test it? Okay, let me launch one server. I'm going to launch a new server here. I'm going to provide the name of the server as web server. Okay, I'm going to launch the name of the server as web server, Amazon Linux. I'll be choosing the instance type as t2.medium for now to show you. You can take t2.micro also. I'm just taking t2.medium. Keep pair, I'm selecting this one. And I will be going for network settings, edit the network settings. What is the VPC that we need to choose? My VPC. What is subnet? In which subnet I would like to launch this server? Web subnet. Okay. By default, you see, by default, the auto assign is enabled. Okay. By default, it is enabled. If you want, you can disable it, but always remember, you need to enable public IP. If you want to provide public access, you need to enable public IP. I'm coming down. Then I will be going for adding a security group rule. SSH port is already open. And I will be adding one more rule called HTTP. Okay, otherwise I will be adding all traffic for now. Anywhere IPv4. I'm adding all the ports. Okay. And the configure storage, this is by default. Advanced details. I'm going to the advanced details. You know, I will be providing some script. I'll be providing some script to test it the server. So the script is here at, where is this? Yes. I'm having the bootstrap script. Okay. I'm just choosing this one. I'm copying the script and I will be pasting it in my advanced user data details. You know the purpose of this script, like this is called bootstrap script. While launching the server itself, I am providing this script so that I am installing some HTTP package here so that this will become the HTTP server. Okay, this will become HTTP server and we will see a web page like host name on the index.html page. I'm going to launch this server. Okay, I'm going to launch this server. We need to wait for a few seconds. We need to wait for a few seconds. And you can also see whenever you launch a server, earlier we launched the server and we saw the IP address of the server. Now also I have launched a server. Let me show you what is the IP address of this server. Just select this server. Can you see what is the IP address that is assigned to this one? In the same range only. Now it is 51. You remember earlier, for the earlier server, what is the IP address that is assigned? 59. Now it is assigned with 20.0051. This is the IP address. This is the public IP address. Earlier we disabled the public IP and now we enable the public IP. I told you what is the reason that why we enable the public IP. We need to enable public IP if public, if anyone in the world wants to access our server, public IP must be enabled. Got it? So public IP is enabled, private IP is enabled, and this is the server I have launched. And we can check with the public IP. Okay, select this public IP, and we'll be going here and trying to access this server. We'll be trying to access this server. Can you see here? I'm able to see the host name in the script. In the script, just I am asking to print the host name. Our host name is nothing but our server name. Yes, I'm able to access the server name. The host name is this one, 20.0051. This is the host name I'm able to access. Even if I provide this one to you, if I give this IP address to you, you can also able to access this one. Anyone in the world can able to access this server. Okay, try to access this. I'm providing this one. Okay, I'm providing just this IP address in the chat. Try to access it and let me know if you're able to access it in the browser. Okay, I'm just providing you this. Try to access it and let me know if you're able to access this or not. Anyone in the world can able to access it because able to access it.
Yes, able to access.
If you're able to access it, you need to understand that we have provided public access. Anyone in the world can able to access this with the help of this IP. So now how to test it, whether it is a public subnet or not. Okay, how to test it? Let me show you. I'm going to our VPC. So now I am able to access it because I have enabled the internet connection for this. I have enabled internet connection for this. What I will do is now I am going to, okay, what I will do is now I am going to, uh, for now, for some time, I would like to, sorry. For now, what I'm going to do is I will be just disconnecting. Okay, I'll be just disconnecting some connection here from the route table. Okay, you see here one end of the route table is connected to the web subnet. Like I just wanted to show you. So if there is an issue with the internet, okay, usually what happens is like I'm going to the VPC, I'm going to the route table. Okay, the route table association. You see here, I have associated this to the web subnet. I am removing this. I'm saving the associations. I've just disconnected the internet. My route table. Okay, earlier the route table is associated, the route table is connected to the web subnet. Now I disable the internet connection. Now you see, you can verify now. I'm just refreshing it, or otherwise you can also try in a new window. Let me know if you're able to access it or not. We lost the connection because we have disconnected the internet connection. So once I've just removed the connection, okay, from the route table, we could not able to access it now because the internet connection is disabled. So I just wanted to show you how we are providing internet connection to the subnet. Okay, we need to have internet gateway component attached to the VPC, and that internet gateway must be attached to the subnets. Directly we cannot attach. That's the reason why. What is the other component we are using? We are using another component, what? Route table. We will be using the route table to connect to the internet gateway as well as to attach the internet gateway as well as the subnets. So now again I'm going back. I'm attaching the subnet. I'm saving the associations. Okay, let's wait for some time and you can try immediately. You see, when I'm providing the internet connection, immediately I'm able to access this. Are you able to see the difference? Yes, I'm able to access this server. I just disconnected the internet connection. I could not able to see it, but when I'm providing the internet connection, immediately we are able to see this response. Okay, so hope you understood like how we need to provide internet connection at a subnet level. Can you tell me now to which subnet the internet connection is having now? For which subnet we provided the internet connection? We have two subnets, right? We have
Web
two.
server.
For only one subnet, we provided the internet connection. For only web subnet, we provided the internet connection. Okay. And how to provide, okay, how to provide internet connection to the private subnet. Suppose this is a public subnet. Public subnet is different. We will enable the public IP. If we have a public IP, we can able to connect to the internet. Everything is, if it is a public subnet, we can understand all these things. So far, we discussed about the public subnet, how to provide internet connection to the public subnet, all those things. If it is a private subnet, so we need to understand the private subnet, how actually the internet connectivity must be provided, how actually the internet connectivity must be provided to the private subnet, all these things. Usually, if I want to connect to this server, if I want to access this server, public IP should be there. But there is no public IP here. There is no public IP here. There is no public IP. How can the public able to access it? Nobody can access it. Okay, if the public IP is not enabled, nobody can able to access it. Okay, all these things we will understand in the next session. For now, we have not understood anything new. I think we have just understood. We just revised the previous things of what we have understood so far. If you are clear, that's fine. Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay, very, very important things to understand. So today we understood like how to provide internet connection to the web subnet, public subnet. Okay. So we have understood like how to provide internet connection to the subnet where we are provisioning the web servers. And we will also see the private subnet tomorrow. Okay, private subnet. To try to understand the difference between public subnet and private subnet. In the public subnet, the public IPs, we are enabling the public IPs. Okay. In the public subnet, we are enabling the public IPs. In the private subnet, we are not going to enable the public IP. That is one difference. If the public IP is not enabled, how actually we can connect to those servers, how we are accessing those servers, how we are going to provide internet connection to those servers, everything we will be understanding in the next session. If you are clear with this, let's stop it for today and let's continue tomorrow. Any questions we can discuss?
Clear for now.
Okay, thank you. Let's meet tomorrow for the next.